So, knowledge advances together with comprehension. Because of this, their development should be explained together. In the development of comprehension, there are two paths. The first one is man's advance by making the states within his constitution a subject of study. We call this a direct development of comprehension. The second is the advancement by comprehension's observation of events external to the body, more correctly, by comprehension studying the events caused by itself. And we call this indirect development of comprehension. Among the main components used in indirect development of comprehension are the events, works and deeds caused by mankind itself in its surroundings which will increase its refining experiences, and most of these are brought about by the helps of external influences. These events appear, especially at the initial stages of development, as heavy, arduous, difficult, the cause of suffering and very long-term. They bring out seemingly never-ending and inexhaustible emotions. In the meantime, man works in hardship, struggles with various impossibilities of nature to earn a morsel of bread, fights with monsters, tussles with his fellow mankind. In this challenge he sometimes wins, but is mostly defeated. He feels the anguish of these in his self, so his grueling life continues for ages. Because we previously talked about how all of these events feed and increase comprehension and essence knowledge in mankind, about the ways developmental mechanisms elevate their equilibrium to higher levels, we do not see any reason to repeat these here. In this way, on the one hand, these events cause increase of essence knowledge, on the other hand, they consign the comprehensions to intervene with developmental mechanisms. And this leads to the emergence of newer and newer events, tests and trials, experiences and observations, and so, the tempo of the comprehension's advance gradually accelerates. As comprehension increases, meaning of the events around emerge more and more. And by this, comprehension vibrations filtered through matter combinations, belonging to human brain begin to draw conclusions from these innumerable events, to build myriad kinds of combinations out of these event parts, and from these, world knowledge generates. As comprehensions develop, this knowledge increases and widens their scope, as well. Many branches of knowledge are constituted like arts, literature, science, medicine, philosophy, music, painting, economics, politics, religion. All of these are the results of the new matter combinations built by the comprehension increased in the developmental mechanism. And naturally, they are particular to the world and obliged to remain in the world, in order to render only the necessities and imperatives of the evolution in the world. These occur under the influences and controls of the plan of duty governing the world. Therefore, while in the world, the expansion of essence comprehension is related to its states bound to the brain, which it uses as its vehicle to become more complex, enriched and to have new constitutions towards the sublime subtle matter states. After all, we have previously mentioned that conclusions brought about by event matter in the essence being, that is, essence knowledge, should reflect back to spirit via the channel of essence comprehension. And because of this, a being who comes into the world with the need for evolution, works to benefit from world events possibilities as much as possible. This benefiting of comprehension occurs both through the form changes of the body, and by the innumerable matter transitions of the cosmos the body lives in. We have named the first of these, direct development of comprehension, and the second, indirect development of comprehension. In the direct states, as it registers developments as the result of applications it has done, by generating formations, transformations and deformations directly in the body, in the indirect states, it expands through its applications upon the results of innumerable external events that either comprehension itself does by means of body, or arranged by the higher beings in duty. All formations in the universe are attuned with the needs of spirits. Transformations within a scale occur through various mechanisms. And in this way, comprehension, which is the subtlest matter state in the world, prepares itself directly and indirectly, within these mechanisms for the most suitable manner, to be able to serve spirit. And for this, it influences and intervenes its own body and as well as the external realm through its body. By the developments it will generate both in its body and in external matter, ensuring its development and the increase of essence knowledge. And it should be remembered that all these deeds occur through influences, mechanisms, and the duality principle technique, on which we have previously elaborated. After explaining the knowledge as one of the components feeding and accelerating the development of essence knowledge, we will also give some knowledge on the love component. As a matter of fact, the love that causes many events and tests and trials in the life of the world is one of the most powerful factors, playing a role in direct and indirect ways, both in the constitution of essence knowledge and in the development of conscience. If love did not exist, the ways of acquiring essence knowledge and opportunities for the conscience mechanism to generate results in positive and negative directions would be quite reduced, and consequently, the possibilities of observations and knowledge of comparison would be quite limited. This is because love helps to increase essence knowledge directly, with the events it generates in positive directions by supporting the higher components of conscience, that is, by a conscious comprehension, as well as helping the increase in essence knowledge indirectly and automatically, by way of knowledge of comparison, arising from the suffering and tormenting results it causes, when necessary, by activating the lower components of conscience mechanism. For example, the loves we mentioned above that caused much sufferings and knowledge of comparison, by sending one man to prison and the other to a mental hospital to be eventually killed, set examples for indirect developments with their influences taking effect in apparently negative ways. Although in reality, they are positive. Other than two previous examples of love, here we give an example of its influence that is seen in a positive way. An inexperienced young man loves a woman for great and noble purposes. And he has been advanced greatly in the stage of conscience. However, the woman rejects him by not seeing in him the qualifications she requires. The young man, determined to attract her affections and attention, starts right away to work on increasing his qualities and adding values to himself. At first, he does this by the automatism of love. As he succeeds, the scope of love begins to expand and its meaning to change. By this means, he feels more the need to cultivate himself and strives for creating works beneficial to mankind. He begins to love everybody and to be loved by everyone. Love becomes generalized and loses its initial simple and one-sided form within the endless directions of a general and encompassing interest. And so he increases his essence knowledge with the myriad conclusions he encountered as he advances in the path of his initial love, and enters into a state of being, which is active at the level of a high equilibrium of conscience and is prepared for the knowledge of duty. When love is mentioned, it should not be interpreted in its narrow sense. Love in the narrow sense, as mankind understands it, is a small though significant part of the great role and immense concept that love plays in the developmental mechanism. That is, the love we mention here has infinite facets and forms. The vast meaning of the roles of love in relation to the conscience mechanism, or more correctly, developmental mechanism, must be dwelled on. It is only by doing this that its value in evolution can be stated. Therefore, let us explain love in this general sense. Love is an attraction felt towards anything. Everything, every reality in the world can attract mankind and beings in every stage of development, depending on situations and person, towards itself in various manners. Therefore, at every level love can be felt towards anything. So, love is such a general and encompassing topic. Even the physico-chemical interests that matter displays towards each other are perhaps the most material and primitive preparation for love seen in superior beings. These are a necessity for the particular needs and imperatives of the beings in that stage. Plants importing food from outside into their structures, absorbing oxygen and carbon dioxide of the air and mixing these with their sap, and even turning some towards the sun or absorbing and digesting animals into themselves are manifestations of this attraction, in the disposition of various instincts seen in most often physico-chemical appearances. We start to see these attraction states of love manifesting in plants through various simple mechanisms, in animals as less materialized states, which are more or less closer to the ones in mankind. Among animals it is possible to observe the varieties of friendly interests with their cubs, partners, family and friends, and even with others than their own species, that sometimes take on the complete scenery of love. As to mankind, the high and rich manifestations of love that is felt with a rather expanded comprehension appear at this stage.